The unemployment numbers just came out this morning and the unemployment rate is decreasing, which is a good sign, but that might change next week. So we want to take a closer look. And I also want to compare it to historical averages. But before we get into it, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, certified financial planner, helping you reach your financial goals. The unemployment report just came out from the Department of Labor, and let me pull it up on the screen so you can follow along. The insured unemployment rate was 4.6 for the week ending October the 31st. The entire month of October was an average of 6.9%. So it is decreasing, which is a good sign. And here, if we scroll all the way down on the report, I want to take a look at each individual state because that is important. I highlighted New York over here at 43,000, and that is for initial claims. And then over here for California at 157,000. So California is a good chunk of that because we could see the total initial claims at 723,000. And here is why this is important, because both New York and California, so New York is saying that they're going to have restrictions on bars, restaurants, and gyms closing at 10 p.m., as well as California going to have more lockdowns in response to a spike in coronavirus cases. So here's what you have to take into consideration. With the potential that unemployment could spike again, the why behind it is because of the pandemic. Now, I'm not trying to mitigate the pandemic or the economic damage that unemployment could cause, but it could also turn around really quickly as what we saw in April. So whatever happens moving forward with unemployment, just dig in a little bit deeper to figure out the why behind it rather than making a quick decision to sell out of the market just because there's a spike in unemployment. But let's take a look at a chart just to understand why unemployment is important to look at when we're looking at the market. And here we can see a chart with the S&P 500 and the unemployment rate over time. And this is going back to the 90s, just so you can see the trend. And the purple line is unemployment and the yellow line is the S&P 500. So as unemployment falls, the market rises. Fast forward, and I'll bring it to the year-to-date chart. We could see that spike in April of 14.7% because we had a spike in unemployment. So the unemployment spikes here at 14.7% and the market tanks right before it, but then it recovers and its unemployment slowly drops. And right now on a monthly average, it's at 6.9%. And last week, what we saw on that report was, 4.6% for the week ending October 31st. So it's headed towards that low that we experienced earlier in the year, and that was at a low of 3.5%. So we're headed back to that low of 3.5%. We're getting closer. So the market is rising, unemployment is falling, but in the short term, we might see a spike in unemployment, so that might affect the market. And here's something also that's interesting if we're looking at this unemployment rates or the unemployment rates. If we throw in the average line here, and let's go back to the 90s, just so we could see a better average for unemployment. We see the average at 5.92%. So it is below that average, but if we bring it year to date, that average is a little bit higher at 7.95%, obviously because of that high spike of 14.7% earlier in the year. So we're below that average line. Just a point to note that we're below the average line doesn't really mean a whole lot, just to kind of give you some perspective at where unemployment is relative to the averages and the stock market. And with the possibility of unemployment increasing, there is a possibility that the market might decrease, but that doesn't mean that you should get out of the market. It just helps to get through difficult times when you could put a name to the face and have an understanding of why the market might go down. Of course, it might not, because we have all the other states. It's not just New York and California. So those averages might still decrease, but be prepared that the market might fall because unemployment might rise. So it just helps to put it in perspective and understand why. Again, you don't want to make an irrational decision in the short term just because there's a short-term spike in unemployment. And that is the update for unemployment. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.